Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring MiTEnder in the bottom left corner, playing the blue Protoss, and in your top right you have eNtitY, the red Protoss. We are on Cloud Kingdom. Both players are masters. I believe this is on the ladder. Everybody knows Cloud Kingdom. It's kind of a newer map, but it's really popular just because the natural expand is so easy to take and defend because there's only one pathway in, even if the wall off's a bit large on the larger side. PvP though, wall in's not the most effective thing in the world. What is effective is denying expansions, denying aggression, keeping your opponent contained in their base. The drop play from Protoss isn't as common as with Terran, and then Zerg always has that super map control. So with Protoss, it's so even, and it really comes down to who can contain the other player into their base, who can max up, who can tech up safely, and push out with that death ball once they get that critical number of units. It really comes down to positioning and not as much micro, unless it's in the super early game. What I'm saying is PvP is very dynamic. It's very complex, and I'm not very good at it. So we've got a gateway coming down for both players. Super standard opening. No gas out of either player just yet, so no early tech. Maybe this is a 2-gate opening. Maybe we'll see a cyber core coming down next. Just depends on who wants to be greedy and who wants to grab that early tech, and who wants to be a little bit more cautious and grab the early expansion or deny the expansion out of the opposite player. Gas being grabbed by both players right now, getting that up before the cyber core goes down, so they can get that warp gate tech right on the path. Another gas coming up for eNtitY. This is exciting already. Oh my goodness! And there goes the cyber core. This is basically the most exciting aspect of the game right now. I promise. Cyber core coming up for Ender. Already mining on that gas. He's already got enough money. Once that pops off, we'll get warp gate tech. Cloud Kingdom has a pretty long rush distance. You can look down the mini map, but it's got a lot of corners, a lot of sneaky places that you can hide. Pylons, proxy pylons, and then that warp gate tech allows you to kind of surprise your opponent by having an army all of a sudden knocking on their front door. eNtitY comes around, sees that there's no shenanigans going on in Ender's main base right now, just a 2-gate with the cyber core already working on the tech, warp gate tech. Cyber core coming up for eNtitY. He has a probe in his main base and a zealot already down, chasing that around. Zealot's not the best thing in the world to deny that scouting. This guy is, though, the stalker that's coming out just now. eNtitY plays it safe, sees that cyber core was already up, so he pulls back that probe's not gonna take that loss. And right now the zealot's deciding to guard the front door while allowing Ender to keep the probes scooting around in his main base. Probe's going to go down as soon as that stalker comes out, but only as long as Ender can keep microing it properly against those zealots, keep it moving. You can see that the gateway's already rallied on the probe. So, I mean, that's just an annoying scout that he does not want that probe to see that there's 2 gas, which means early tech for eNtitY. 2 gateway. It'll be interesting to see once that probe does go down if it's a straight 2-gate into Robo. But with the stalker poking at the front door, that stalker could have done more damage if it had arrived earlier. You'd have to probe to scout the high ground. He could have hit the zealot without having to come all the way up the ramp. But unfortunately for Ender, unfortunately for eNtitY, the his stalker popped out at pretty much the exact same time, denying the scouting. This stalker's got to be really careful. Those zealots aren't in position to stop these 2 stalkers from doing too much damage to it. It looks like both players are going to lose a stalker unless, that guy just barely survives carting away, and he's going to continue kiting those zealots, doing plenty of damage. He's got to be careful for any other stalkers on the field. And there's 2 at the top of the ramp, which he does not see, doesn't scout. That stalker goes down, so now should be pretty much neck and neck, even on the resources lost. Ender put in the pressure, has a proxy pylon, 2 more stalkers coming down with range over the zealots. They're going to be able to do more damage, especially with these additional 2 coming in right now. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to, just for a second, pop back into Ender's base and see exactly what type of tech he's got there. 3-gate. 3-gate against the 2 for eNtitY, which means that, eNtitY has the harvester count superiority, but unfortunately with Ender poking into the front gate, those harvesters really can't mine with stalkers in his base. We can see some sentries are being warped in. They're going to force field that and kind of hold off Ender's main aggression. With each force field coming down, one zealot's sneaking past just to scout the high ground. eNtity's got to be careful, got to keep his units away from that. We can see eNtitY has a proxy pylon down by the main base of Ender. He's going to warp in maybe some zealots, maybe a couple of stalkers with blink tech just to do a lot of aggression later on. Oh, there goes some zealots right now. Look at that. So 4-gate versus the 2-gate. 2-gate now 3-gate into a robo. 2 more zealots scouting the high ground, but these stalkers aren't moving over here to provide some backup damage. It looks like 2 zealots are going to make it into the probe line, but unfortunately for eNtitY, 2 more zealots get warped in and are going to deal with that aggression supported by probes. They're going to deal with that just nicely. A 3rd one coming in, those zealots are going to go down, and then eventually they're going to scout out here, maybe find that pylon. Still some moderate pressure at eNtity's front door, but with the sentries down and no blink tech for the stalkers, even though we have the Twilight Council on the way, those stalkers aren't going to be able to do too much at the front door, and that's just going to get less and less intimidating whenever this Immortal comes out. That Immortal's going to have an excellent answer to the stalkers. You can see that these zealots are scouting down in the main. They're going to work their way eventually over here to the 3rd. See that pylon? eNtitY knows that pressure's coming. He's pulled the probe off right now, seeing that maybe if the pylon goes down and then those zealots go to rejoin the main group, that probe can be in a good position to resupply that area. This pylon and this pylon are going to go down now that the pressure's off the front door. These sentries are feeling smug enough that they can hold that ramp by themselves. But remember, eNtitY does have the harvester count lead. He's up by about 7 right now, which is, it's several more units. He's also up by tech. He's got that robo up. There is no robo on Ender's side of thing. He's going with the blink tech, robo just now being built. So he's going to be behind on the observer count, and we can see that the robotics bay is also finishing. So after the 2nd Immortal comes out, I expect we are going to see some Colossus coming out, and Colossus with their range do an absolutely devastating amount of damage to the blink stalkers just because they like to bundle up. Yeah, the blink stalkers are really good at darting in and dealing a bunch of damage to the Colossus at just the wrong time. They come in, they do a lot of damage, and then they blink away, allowing them to take them down very easily, but only if there's enough stalkers on the field, and only if the Colossus kind of overextends itself, only if it exposes itself to that sort of damage. So it's going to be interesting with these 2 different builds, which unit composition is going to be more intimidating. eNtitY throwing down that pylon again. Some stalkers coming out. Maybe he's afraid that a hidden expansion has come out of eNtitY. He's grabbing his own expansion right now, and he has an observer on the field, which eventually is going to walk up here and see that there is a Colossus. It looks like eNtity's not going to wait for that timing. He's going to move out right now once that Colossus comes out. He does not have another one on the way, but he knows that with the expansion, which he scouted with that probe, right now Ender is a little bit more vulnerable. He's not as prepared for this sort of push, and it's very intimidating. Right now, no upgrades on eNtitY or Ender, with the exception, of course, of the blink. We have an Immortal coming out. Let me see. Yeah, the harvester count hasn't evened up at all, and you can see that right now the army tab is showing heavy favor for eNtitY. But with these blink stalkers, they're going to be able to move in, do some economic damage, because there's nobody guarding the front door. This is basically going to be a base trade. That Colossus almost went down to those blink stalkers. That's what I was talking about. It got a little bit exposed, took a lot of damage. Not quite enough damage, fortunately, with this army flanking either side, but it's very close to that edge. It looks like, yeah, Ender killing it, and with that goes any spotting of the high ground. Stalkers moving up into eNtity's main base, focusing down that Nexus, getting surrounded by the probes, taking a lot of damage there, but a well-timed blink to the opposite side buys them enough time to take down the Nexus. Nexus in Ender's expansion also goes down, but unfortunately with the Colossus dead, a force field can hold that wall. Looks like the 4 remaining stalkers are going to get pushed away by these probes, but it's very important to realize that eNtitY does not have enough money to rebuild his Nexus. He does have a Colossus on the way. He could cancel that Colossus and then have enough money to rebuild the Nexus. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to realize that, or maybe he's just going to choose to build another Colossus because he does have enough money and gas. So right now, Ender is in a rather precarious situation. He's got 3 sentries, none of them with enough energy just yet to force field the ramp, having to warp in another one so that he can hold that. And eNtity's going to have quite a lot of probes coming in to rejoin the main base. It looks like he has opted to build another Colossus. So those 2 Colossus, once one arrives, is going to be able to knock down this front door. And they're going to charge up there. So basically it's a land grab. Ender's hoping that he can field enough units at a time just to hold that front door, because he's the only one mining. If he can survive, if he can hold eNtitY long enough to get up enough units, then eNtity's pretty much screwed. This observer's coming in, sees the Colossus. He knows that his front door is not going to hold this time. Force field does go down, forcing the Colossus to walk all the way in the front door. It's very exposed right now. eNtitY doing a good job pulling that Colossus back so that it can safely rain down fire on the Zealots. The Sentries and the Immortal are doing a lot of damage to all the probes. Pretty much all of them have gone down now, and some well-placed force fields were going to cut that unit composition in half, but Ender blinks his guys away. Right now, the main huge advantage is still in eNtity's favor. He's got 1,000 resources on his army tab, but there's no harvesting going on at all, even though he's got around 10. Ender's forcing to pull his pros back. He doesn't have enough to build a Nexus either, so he's got to keep this one up. It looks like both players are going to have to crash eventually. The probes coming in, forming a meat shield. Stalker's still raining down a lot of fire, but that Colossus is still up, and a second one joins the battle. Ender's got to get out of there. He's sandwiched between the 2. He decides to blink all of his Stalkers forward, take down that first Colossus. Now he's within range of all these Zealots. He needs to get out of there again. Only 4 Stalkers left. This Immortal's going to go down to a couple of Zealots. Colossus following behind it, but it's severely weakened. So now it's just a straight up micro battle. 5 Stalkers against all of this, but there's no blink tech on these Stalkers. There's no energy except for 1 sentry capable of throwing down a couple of force fields, but again, with that blink tech, they're going to be able to just continue to kite. eNtitY can't afford to do a straight up base trade between them because these Stalkers are going to continually harass his units. And every time that Colossus steps down, it takes 1 or 2 fire, and now it's only down to 20 health. That Colossus needs to stay up. It's the only one that can really control the battlefield right now, control and force these blink Stalkers to behave appropriately. That observer is still up. There's no observer on the field for eNtitY, so he can definitely see these guys, scout them on the high ground, and do a lot of damage. And focusing down units, this Sentry and Stalker are going to go down while the units continue to work on the buildings, but I don't think that's a wise play. I think he needs to take down these 4 guys because there's no way that they're going to run off and take down his base. That Colossus now has quite a lot of shields, and it manages to force them away. The Zealots ponderously trying to close the gap between the Stalkers, but they're just so fast, and that Colossus finally goes down with a blink just underneath it. Now there's no units that can attack at a range with the exception of a single weak sentry. These Stalkers, that's done it. The Colossus is down. These Stalkers are going to be able to micro these guys to death. That was a fantastic game. It is so tight, 9-6. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness, this is why I can't PvP, is because I have an aneurysm just talking about it. So I'm assuming that Ender is the one who put this up, but if I was eNtitY, I would be incredibly proud of this game too. It was a great game. If you guys could tell me what you think, that would be awesome. You could leave me a comment here or PM me on Reddit or YouTube if you have a game you want me to cast. I appreciate you guys watching this. I am Ibigandscary. I will see you guys later. Bye.